Before we get into the meat of this little mini video series, videos 1, 2, and 3, let's talk about our sponsor today, which is Pond5.com, and I really would love you guys to check them out. They're the ones who are funding this project and giving us the free stock footage that we're using. In fact, they're giving everyone who watches this some free stock footage in videos part 1, 2, and 3. There's a collection in the description of each video, a link to that collection over on Pond5.com. 15 video clips. You can download them all, use them. They're absolutely free. Use them for whatever you want. It's amazing. Pond5.com is probably the best stock photography or stock video, stock sound library that there is online. You got to check them out. I've used them forever. They're amazing. I love their service, and I'm so glad that we're now working together on this project. Let's get out to the table and talk about some pre-production, though, and get this thing started.
Hey everybody, Nathaniel Dodds from tutvid.com. I want to welcome you into this video series where we're going to talk about creating a short film, or really, it's a very, very short film, and it's going to be more like a YouTube video intro. So maybe think of it as creating a video intro and not necessarily creating a short film. It's going to be a short three-part mini-series tutorial, and today we're going to talk about the pre-production and planning stages of making sure you get a good film, go out at the right location, at the right time, have all the right gear, all that stuff. You can see all this stuff I have around me here today. So the very first thing, and maybe the most important thing out of everything, out of all this gear, out of every theory or light pattern or modifier that you may have, is the story. Without a good story, your film is nothing. Your short film is nothing. We want to tell some kind of coherent story and have some sort of thread that joins all of our shots one to the other throughout the course of this short film, this little intro that we're shooting. So story is extraordinarily important, and filmmakers, videographers everywhere are going to pretty much tell you as much. The next thing is going to be the mood of the film. What do we want it to look like? What's the overall look and feel? Is it whimsy and playful, bright colors, bright lights, a lot of high-key kind of shots? Maybe the dialogue will be different if that's the case. Or is it something that's a little bit darker and foreboding? Or maybe it's just a moody, heavier, or maybe not heavier colors, but beautiful contrast and smooth tones and things kind of melting together to tell more of a dramatic story. That's what we're going to go with our short film. The idea is going to be, it's a guy who has the secret information, top secret Photoshop, right? And he's going to be running away from people who are chasing him. That's like our little story that we're telling, and we're going to build a storyboard that kind of extrapolates that into a few different scenes that we're going to shoot and then edit together later on. So we know that our mood is going to be sort of dark, but smooth cinematic colors. We're going to try to have like moody, rich shots. Definitely nothing that's like, frolicking through a field of grass and flowers and things like that. And once we have our story and our mood, it's time to pick a location. If you don't have a budget, you're going to have to pick a location anywhere. And the whole idea of this is I'm going to try to use inexpensive gear or stuff that's DIY together. We're just going to use very inexpensive stuff to try to really rig this shoot up and see what we can do with kind of less. So we're going to have to pick a location somewhere. I'm right here outside of Philadelphia, so I'm picking this location in Philadelphia. You can see here we're in Google Maps. I'm going to zoom right down here into this location. This is an area right on the southwestern corner, maybe a little outside of the southwestern corner of the Center City portion of Philadelphia, and it still has a little bit of like Center City to it, but it's very beaten down. There's this old railroad track that runs overhead, and I think it'd be a really cool place where you would expect some kind of like, I don't know, almost like high-end, white-collar, on-the-street style crime to go down. And you can see here as we look around, we've got all these poles that go up and down the road. And it's just a really, really cool little location. Now, something that is very, very important is the sun location. Sun location is going to help you determine, once you've picked out your location, do I need to shoot there in the very early morning, in the middle of the afternoon? Should I go and shoot there in the evening as the sun is rising? Because you're going to see where the sun is in the sky. Do I want the sun coming in behind my subject? If we know our subject's going to be facing this way, right, looking that way, and the sun rises over here in the east, well, we need to go and shoot at sunrise, because at sunset, the sun's going to be over here hitting our subject in the face. So we want this very moody cinematic light, and we know we can get that beautiful light either right as the sun is setting or right as the sun is rising. And this location, and by the way, I love to use Google Earth to help me find sun location. They've got this slider up here at the top of the screen. I can zoom all the way into my location right here, check it out, and then I can begin to use this slider to see, okay, here's the sun at 5:30 in the morning, here's the sun at 6:30, 7:30, and so on and so forth. And I can see here, based on the way that I want to shoot this location, I'm choosing to shoot in the very, very early morning, so sunrise, and I figure out what time sun is going to rise in Philadelphia tomorrow morning when we go and do this shoot. And tools like Google Earth are going to really help me kind of figure out exactly what time I need to show up. But in this case, it's pretty clear, cut, and dry. I need to show up right before the sun rises, get all my gear set up, and be ready to go as the sun is rising so I can really, really capitalize on that little 40 minutes of amazing light that we'll have right there as the sun rises. Now, in addition to Google Earth, which is a great, amazing free app, download it to your desktop, highly recommend it, super useful for stuff like this. There's also a great little mobile app called Sunseeker. Sunseeker has a free version, they have a paid version. They're both really good. They show you kind of where the sun is going to be in the sky, and you can, use the phone's GPS to see the overlay of your location, and some they even hold it up and you can see exactly where the sun is going to be in the sky at some particular time during the day. But nothing really, in my opinion, is as great as sitting down with your laptop or with a desktop and using Google Earth and getting that 3D overlay and really seeing where the shadows and the highlights are going to be driving and dropping within the scene. And it's especially important, by the way, for a little short film like we're doing, this little intro we're shooting, because virtually the entire thing is going to be shot with natural light. I do have one artificial light out here, and we're going to talk about it briefly when we get to the gear section of this video, but I know that probably over 98% of the light in any given scene is going to be natural light, and I honestly don't even know if we're going to use this at all. We're just going to be bringing it because, hey, what if we need it? So Sunseeker, it's an amazing little app. I know it's on iPhone. I believe it's on Android as well. You should download it and check it out. It's great to just have it in your pocket. You can pull it out at any given time. Now, in addition to the mood and figuring out the story that your film is going to tell and picking a location and being concerned with sun positioning is going to be building a coherent storyboard. The storyboard is going to be the photographer, the cinematographer's best friend of sorts, because it's going to tell you, hey, look, here's how we're translating that story to actual shots, actual bits of film that we're going to go shoot. And sometimes, often, a film is not shot chronologically. So the first thing you watch in the film could be the last shot that was actually shot on set when you rented all of your gear and when you got to your location and when you started shooting. So a storyboard just helps keep you on track when you're out there on location, allows you to shoot what you need at one location, go to another location, shoot everything you need there, and so on and so forth. So I've built here this storyboard, and let's take a look at it. So the first thing I did was I established a legend. So I had some kind of code that I could go and reference later on. And I know that pink is shots that I need to shoot and also sound that I need to capture. So with my cameras, with my microphones, where's the microphone? There it is over there. With my cameras, with my microphone, I'm going to capture those shots. I'm going to capture those sounds. I'm going to work with them in post-production after we finish all of the production for this film. Secondly, we have green stuff, and the green stuff is stock sound. Stock sound that I need to purchase. Now, Pond 5 is our sponsor for this little mini video series. Highly recommend you go check them out. There's links in the description of this video where you can check them out. They've got a subscription-based service now that you can sign up for. They've just got a lot of amazing footage, sound effects, all kinds of great stuff that you can use over there. And in fact, there's a bin of stuff included with this video, 15 clips that you can download and use for free, located again down in the description of this video. Green here is sound that I need from Pond 5, and yellow are visual shots, video shots that I need from Pond 5. So now that we know what the legend is, let's talk a little bit about the storyboard. So first and foremost, we have our first shot here where we're just going to have a guy walking across the frame, left to right, or maybe right to left. It all depends on how the location looks and the actual shot we end up getting. But generally speaking, I'm planning for him to be walking left to right. He's going to be kind of a well-dressed guy, black suit, maybe sunglasses and a dark cap or something, kind of looking a little cliche, secret agent man-ish, something like that. So he's going to be walking across the shot. Then he's going to stop all of a sudden, because down here he hears a car shut off and maybe a car door open and slam shut. And when he hears that, he's going to take off running. Now, in between these two shots, you can see I interjected a little shot, and that is a drone shot over Philly. So this is going to be a shot that we acquire from pond5.com. We're going to find some kind of great cinematic establishing shot to say, look, the film opens with just a guy walking, and all that we basically hear are his footsteps hitting the ground, maybe a little bit of gravel, and that'll be something maybe we have to sound engineer later on and create that little sound effect ourselves, or we'll see if Pond 5 has something that matches up with our film as well. Once you have that, then it's going to fade to this very majestic-looking drone shot. Then it's going to come back, and we're going to start getting some action in terms of this car shutting off, the car door opening and shutting. There's going to be ambient traffic in the background all the while. Meanwhile, the second frame here, he's going to hear this noise, and you're going to see him come to a stop, and then he's going to turn, and he's going to take off running when he realizes, of course, that these are bad guys who are out to get him. Then we're going to go on and he's, running, and maybe there's some shaky camera movement. And as this scene hits, we're going to still hear some of the ambient noise of the city behind him. We're going to hear his footsteps clattering on the ground and things of that nature. But also we're going to have our stock music start. So whatever musical soundtrack we decide for backing for this little short film, that is going to begin at this point. Then we're going to go to another stock shot of Philly, maybe traffic or time lapse or something. We have to be careful here because we want our stock to fit the time of day that we're shooting as well. So you want to just keep all of that in mind as you begin, working with stock imagery and things like that, because everything really has to fit. So we're going to go to some other stock shot of Philly in the morning, whether traffic or just something moving quickly. It's got to be something that's still action-based, maybe some cars speeding by or whipping back and forth. And we can record some additional sound here if we need to, of maybe like his running feet and fast footsteps. We'll get additional shots of him running around and running by in different areas of our little location. Everything's going to be shot right there in that one little location. After that, we're going to have him running up to some kind of object that's there. We'll find something, whether it's a mailbox or some kind of stand or a bench or something, and throw the briefcase onto it, at or around chest level, ideally, maybe waist level, who knows. There's going to be heavy breathing going on in the background. We're also going to introduce some police sirens at this point, just so we have sort of this subconscious feeling of stuff's really kind of going bad, or something important is happening right now. So all of that's going to be going on. We're going to go to the next shot, which is going to be the briefcase opening up or unzipping, or however we end up working that, again with a sound of either a zipper or clasps clapping open. Then we're going to go and we're going to have more stock film introduced at this point. Again, fast-moving scenes around the city, maybe people rushing to get to work, and maybe in sort of this like drifting through cinematic, I don't know, faded in and out sort of way. We'll figure it out in post-production. But we are going to use another Pond 5 shot here of some sort. We're going to figure out. It could be as simple as just some urban architecture and just, again, strengthening and solidifying the scene that we have been placed in. Now, as he's working to get this case open and pull his computer out, which is going to have this new top secret Photoshop in it, right? This is going to be a very tense moment, and maybe, I haven't decided exactly if we're going to do this or not, it'll sort of be this flashback moment in his mind where it's going to flash back to sort of a black and white version of video where maybe a guy is holding up a gun and pulling a trigger, or a speeding train is going by, or something that just seems sort of dramatic and scary and dangerous, and maybe also has like a sort of hat tip to James Bond, as my gel here wants to fly up in my face. And next up, we're going to take a shot basically from the front. Once he has this Mac opened up, we're going to mount the camera on the slider, and we're going to slide in from the front with either the front of the Mac or the front of the briefcase, obscuring what's going on behind it, but you'll be able to see he's opening up a computer and looking at it. And then next up over here, we're going to set up the slider behind him and slide in from behind so we can see what is on the screen of the laptop that he's using. And by the way, what's going to be on the screen of the laptop is going to be some graphics that we've already created, which are basically, top secret Photoshop, or be our intro screen or something. And then those, with the magic of post-production, we're going to sort of pop them out of the screen and make them come and become full screen on our actual intro video piece. So you can see how the storyboard is going to be incredibly helpful for us. And oh, by the way, those last shots, you don't absolutely need a slider. You can just throw your camera on a tripod, shoulder mount it, or hand hold it, something like that. That works too. This style film and this style mood that we're shooting is really conducive to either being done with fluid heads and jibs and sliders and light stands galore, you name it, or it's just as conducive as just a guy with a camera, maybe a tripod, going out there and just kind of running and gunning it like that. It can work either way. Shaky camera or very smooth camera, it'll look great either way. So you can see how the storyboard is going to be really helpful. That's what I was starting to say. And it's really great for the photographer, it's great for the talent on set, it's great for everybody who's out working and helping you get your films created, because everybody knows what's going on. Everybody knows what needs to be done next. And for instance, if you go to one location, let's say you fly to Las Vegas for a day of filming, you're going to get everything you need while you're out there in Las Vegas before flying home to Atlanta or Washington, D.C., or Seattle, or Philadelphia, or wherever. The storyboard is going to help you make sure you get everything you need and get all the shots that are going to work to tell the story. And again, remember, story is the most important part of your film. So, with that in mind, let's talk here about the gear. So, I'm going to shut the laptop here. And I guess first and foremost, let's talk about the camera we're going to be shooting with. Again, we're going to try to keep this as inexpensive as possible. Not even all of this, not even close to all of this that I have here is necessary. Really, all you need is a camera. And here I've got an old 5D Mark II. that I'm going to shoot it with. Just full frame, the very first DSLR to offer that full frame video amazingness. We're also going to use a 50mm Canon 50mm. This is the f1.2. This is about $400 lens, but there is the f1.8 lens, which is like $120 right now. The price is obviously going to change depending on when you're watching this video. A stack of flash cards, just a few 16GB flash cards. They're always helpful, just so you can shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot. So that's absolutely necessary, obviously. I would say almost equally as necessary is some kind of decent microphone. Now this is, I don't remember how much this cost when I got it, a few $100s, but this is a great Rode Video Mic Pro. You can mount on the top of the camera and plug into the side of your 5V Mark II, so you record direct to your audio. Or what I would recommend is bringing out a separate audio recorder, like a Zoom H6 or something. The H6 is pretty pricey, or relatively pricey, I should say. The H1 is about $100, and it's still a nice little recorder. It just plugs right into it. So you could do that, and you would basically have great audio, great video. Audio can be every bit as important as the video. Amazing cinematics with crappy audio, it really detracts from your finished product. So I highly recommend get good audio. You will not regret it. It does so much for your production. Oh, by the way, spare batteries, of course. Some of the other things that I have here, let's get to the interesting looking thing here. This is a Lee matte box, just some bellows. It allows me to slide neutral density filters into here. Neutral density filters are going to allow me to shoot at a very shallow depth of field when we have broad daylight or as things are getting brighter and brighter and brighter. So it can be useful to have one of them. It's called a Lee matte box. Well, Lee is the brand. Lee matte box. And then you'll need to get the circular adapter, the adapter ring, depending on the lens that you're using. Again, we're using our 50mm lens. Also some neutral density filters that actually slide into there. That's great. You can, by the way, just use your traditional neutral density filters. These are much less expensive, and Tiffin is kind of the cheapest of the cheap brands. That's why I grabbed this empty. It's actually empty because I don't really use it anymore. But Tiffin filters, they're dirt cheap. They're not really the greatest, but they will do the job and allow you to shoot at a shallower or a more wide open aperture like f2 instead of f8 or something, depending on the darkness of your neutral density filter. They can be really, really helpful. One of the other things that we have here is a tripod. Now this tripod is cool because, I mean, it's just a typical Manfrotto tripod, but it has a fluid head, and fluid heads are amazing for video. They do incredible stuff. It just allows you to get really smooth up and down and smooth pans, things like that. Not necessary, but a really nice piece of kit, and you can get this head for $180, $200, something like that. Really, really cool stuff. A typical light stand. I also have a C-stand here. A C-stand can be really nice. The C-stand we will not use unless we use this light. And this is a Genere 500 bulb LED light head, and I'm bringing out to power it a little Vagabond Mini by Paul C. Buff. These things are a couple $100. 2 outlets, just a big rechargeable battery. They're amazing for so much. I use them all the time when I'm on location. Hairstylists and makeup artists love them because they use all their crimpers and primpers and paraphernalia and whatever. I don't know what they use, but it all plugs into that. It's just standard wall outlets. They're amazing. Great value. I also have this cheap little shoulder rig, which I have not used in forever, but I went and dug it out of my gear closet specifically for this shoot. Just some pipe that I rigged together, and I've got a little screw going through the slot on the bottom where the camera can mount, and I can just sort of hold it up like this, and it just helps stabilize things. I made this for maybe $10, took some flat black spray paint, sprayed it black, bada bing. Pretty cool. What else do we have here? Oh, a slider. So I've been talking about the slider. Now, most sliders are a few $100s. This is actually an old slider that I made. I made it out of some wire conduit and bolts and parts that fit together from like your local hardware store, Lowe's, Home Depot, depending on what part of the world you're in, you'll have those stores. And it costs me less than $100 to make. In fact, I think it costs less than $50. And then what I do, because obviously with the little rubber legs, you have to mount it on a table or it just goes on the ground. I have here a couple extra light stands, and I've just gone out to, again, the hardware store, and you can get pretty much door brackets anywhere, and then some little screws that screw into the top of the little adapters you have on the top of your standard light stands, and it holds my slider up. So I can then throw the slider onto these light stands and have a nice working slider. And that's what this is, by the way. This is the dolly for the slider. Fits onto here. Some skateboard wheels, skateboard trucks, piece of wood, a pistol grip, semi-fluid head. It's not really technically a fluid head. And I can roll it, you know, back and forth. It works great. So that's basically everything that I'm bringing. Oh, and then this crispy thing here, this is just a light gel. So this is just, if we end up using this light and I need to make the light warmer, I can tape this, gaff tape it to the front, It's just some gel. It's not cellophane. Cellophane can melt. Cellophane wouldn't melt because these are LEDs and they stay really cool, but that's what that's for. So that covers everything. Camera, lens, microphone. This is the essential stuff. Tripods are helpful. Lights are cool to have. A shoulder harness, I would probably prioritize that because you can make one yourself for so cheap. And then additional light stands and lights and slider and fluid head. That stuff, if you have the money, go ahead and get it. If not, don't sweat it. It is nice to have though, I'm not going to lie. So that's it for the gear. And with that, that's going to bring us to the end of part 1 of this little video series. The next part, tomorrow morning, we are going to actually shoot the project, and I'll probably bring a GoPro out with me and try to get some other angles and things, and then talk over it and explain what I'm doing, show some of the shots we got. And then part 3, we're going to talk about all the post-production, putting this whole thing together, and a little bit of the sound engineering on the back end. How do we create some of those sound effects and really polish the edges of our little film? It's going to be a fun little series. Thanks to Pond5, I should say, for sponsoring this whole thing. Make sure you check out the link down in the description to visit and download that stuff from the bin. It's free. There's no strings attached. It's great. And that's it. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you check out parts 2 and 3 upcoming. And that's going to be it for this one. NathanielDoddsonTutvid.com. I'll catch you in the next one.